So in the crook of the arm of pillar 18, it holds a fox or a dog. So let's look at what is next to Gemini in the night sky. So it's Canis Minor, which is known today as a dog. But in ancient times, it may have been seen as a fox, and it really doesn't matter. So the symbolism found at the base of the same pillar shows 7 water birds, or chicks. And I believe these 7 birds are the Pleiades star cluster in the constellation of Taurus. This cluster is commonly known as the 7 sisters, the 7 chicks, and almost always female. And in fact, some of the oldest stories that we know come from the Aboriginal Australians. And there, too, they were often known as 7 ladies. So this is pillar 18 again, and this is a combined view of the symbolism. And so let's look in the night sky fully where they are. So the red dots show you the 3 constellations and asterisms from the previous slides and where they are, including their placement near the ecliptic line. So if you were at Gobekli Tepe about 9600 BC, and you were standing between the central pillars of Enclosure D, staring south, the pillars 18 and 31, and you're looking the same way the pillars are actually facing, you would see the sun rising on the winter solstice, and it would be heralded by the Pleiades in Taurus. Now, this is a symbolism shown on the pillars, which is fantastic. Also, I want you to note their proximity to the Milky Way, and that these 3 constellations are all actually touching the Milky Way, which is interesting. So I'm going to look at that next pillar, pillar 31, and its symbolism. On this pillar's necklace is a pendant of a bull shown next to the white arrow here. I think this T-shaped pillar may be representing Orion, the mighty hunter, and Taurus, the bull. And as you can see, the image, Orion is right there next to Taurus, the bull. It kind of makes sense. But you have to keep in mind this is only speculation, okay? Nobody knows for sure what's going on. And this is just showing you in the night sky what I just showed you on the previous pillar and the locations. And this is the complete area of the sky that I showed you of pillars 18 and 31, and it's really interesting where it's pointing to. And these areas mark spots as if they were guardians of the crossroads being the intersection of the Milky Way and the virtual ecliptic line. And all of these are touching the Milky Way. So I believe this is a very important thing for us to understand. So I noticed that the builders of Gobekli Tepe may also be portraying a very ancient asterism within the symbolism on the central twin pillars that I just discussed. This asterism is called the Golden Gate of the Ecliptic. An asterism, do you guys know what that is? Okay. An asterism is a pattern of stars that is not a constellation, but it can lie within a constellation. The Golden Gate of the Ecliptic asterism is in the constellation of Taurus, and it has been known about for thousands and thousands of years. It's marked by the 2 gold stars above. The asterism is built by the 2 eye-catching open star clusters of the Pleiades and the V-shaped Hyades that stand as sentinels on either side of the ecliptic line. And again, that's the area of the sky. If you were studying and observing, you would look. So it's the perfect astronomical observatory. Okay. So the ancients were able to predict celestial events like alignments, like the winter solstice that Hugh and I discovered in December of 2021. I'm not going to really elaborate on this in this talk because I think Hugh is going to cover that pretty deeply, even though I really want to talk about it. So I'll just skip that. So I'm going to talk about another example of the Golden Gate of the Ecliptic. So this limestone tablet was found at a site in Malta called Tal Hadi, and it's about 4,500 years old, give or take. The site is in ruins today, unfortunately. So the top image is the Tal Hadi sky tablet matched to the starry sky with the ecliptic line showing Taurus prominently. And the below image is an example of how the Tal Hadi sky tablet may have been used to measure the latitude of the moon and the planets. Now, it's very aggravating to me. I've been to Malta many, many times, and they have a wonderful national archaeology museum. And they have this stone tablet there. It's not big, it's quite small, but they have it in a dusty old glass case with just nothing really listed about it at all. And I think it really needs, these types of artifacts are overlooked all the time, but they really should do something about it. I think I may have written to them, but I have no response. I'm sure they get a lot of letters from crazy people like me. But so it's also my hypothesis that at the Lascaux cave in France, in the Hall of the Bulls, that a golden gate of the ecliptic asterism is featured on that wall. And that's, quite far back in time, more than 20,000 years, possibly. And it really makes sense that they would be marking this area. As I've beat into by now, that's the perfect point in the sky to look, to study the stars. And again, with Orion and his brightly shining 3 belt stars grabbing your attention, it really is the easiest one to notice. I have no doubt that many of these images created millennia ago don't just depict hunting or beautiful animal scenes, but show clear and intimate knowledge of the stars. They may not have left us a writing system that we would easily recognize today, but they definitely knew how to portray what they saw in the sky, and quite cleverly. We simply need to recognize what is right in front of us. So I'm going to go back to the crossing point for the Milky Way and the ecliptic line. So there are 2 of these intersections of the Milky Way and the ecliptic, the other being 180 degrees opposite. And that gate intersection is the Sagittarius gate, which my friend, many of you know, Andrew Collins, has talked about many times in his lectures. He wasn't really looking at the other side, so we kind of combined and figured out, oh, this makes sense for the ancient sites we're looking at. So these gates are also known by many ancient cultures as the entry points to the road of the dead or the path of the souls. The ancient Greeks believed that the souls reside in the Milky Way between incarnations, and also believed that there were 2 gates on the Milky Way. And these very same beliefs are found across the world.